Freddie Mercury was worth £50 million when he died in 1991. But that was only the start. Mary Austin, his ex-girlfriend, got 75% of everything. A lot of money came her way, but she never married him. Then, in 2021, Queen sold all of their songs for more than £1 billion. All of a sudden, Mary's share went up to £187 million. However, this is what shocks me. Those millions should have gone to someone else. A hidden kid who didn't get anything. We're going to talk about the money that split up a family today. Farouk Bomi Bulsara was Freddie Mercury's birth name. He was born on September 5, 1946, in Stonetown, Zanzibar, a busy port town with African, Arab, Indian, and British influences. Bomi and Jair, his parents, were Parsi Indians from Gujarat who went to Zanzibar for work. Their house had a view of the sea. With help from housekeepers, like a nanny called Sabine, they were able to live comfortably. They taught Pharaoh about the Zoroastrian religion. Even though he grew up in a place with lots of old traditions, he could also hear church bells and see ships from all over the world come into port. That mix of cultures quietly changed him from the start, setting the stage for the dramatic and experimental style he would later bring to Queen. Early on, music found him. When his family got together, he played the piano on tables before he had a real one. Bollywood songs played all the time in the house, and he loved every one. He got his first toy piano when he was 7 years old. This was possible because of the clove trade boom in the 1950s, which brought extra money into the Bulsara family. That little thing was all he played, and he made simple songs with ideas from the island around him. Chants in Swahili. In his mind were church prayers, Bollywood songs, and the sounds of Zanzibar streets all at the same time. He would always remember those early tunes. He went to school in Zanzibar and then across the seas in India. He started at the Zanzibar Missionary School when he was 4 years old. It was run by Anglican nuns. He was shy and was teased a lot because he had buck teeth, which stayed with him until he was 8 years old. His folks sent him to India to go to St. Peter's School. People had hoped he would focus on school, but he found music there instead. He started to play the piano seriously and joined the school band, the Hectics. He also continued to follow Zoroastrian practices, which made for a strange but powerful mix of ideas. In 1963, Zanzibar got its freedom. When things got worse, the Bulsara family had to leave the island for good. His childhood on an island came to an end when he ran away. This set him on the path to fame. At first, life at St. Peter's was strict and lonely. Farouk, who was 8 years old at the time, wrote sad letters home to his family because he missed them. But while I was there, I found new things. He learned about Western classical music and artists like Mendelssohn through the school choir. His teachers even noticed when he was a child that he had a wide speaking range. He worked hard at the piano and got a 4 on both the theory and practice tests. The school helped Punchugni even though he was a long way from Zanzibar. He learned how to speak through it. He also played sports. He didn't really like cricket, but when he was 10, he shocked everyone by getting a 50 in a school game. His real love was table tennis. At age 10, he won the school championship. And was named a junior all-rookie at age 12. He was captain of the team and bought Cliff Richard and Elvis Presley songs with the small amount of money he won. He became more interested in rock and roll because of those songs. His friends and teachers remember him as a shy kid who changed into a different person when the music started. People say he always had a record player with him and was happy to play the songs he liked. He went through something painful when he was 12. He fell during a school fighting match and made his already noticeable buck teeth even worse. The injury hurt all the time, so he chewed aspirin every day to deal with it. It gave him a little lisp that made him feel bad about himself. He went to speech therapy, but the lisp didn't go away. He was born with 4 extra incisors, which made his mouth too small and led to the overbite. Many doctors tried to fix it, but he was sure that his unique 4-octave singing range came from that structure. He put off getting help for years because he was afraid he would lose his voice. He didn't let a dentist fix it until he felt more confident, which gave him the smile that fans would recognize right away. He moved forward because of the music. In 1962, when he was 16, he played in his first real band with friends at St. Peter's. They were called the Hectics. They sang along with Elvis Presley, Cliff Richard, and Little Richard. All eyes were on Farrick, who took flashy clothes from older students and shocked everyone with his style. He didn't say anything off stage. But when he was on stage, he moved like an artist who was sure of themselves. Even though the early shows were small, they were the first steps he would take on the way to becoming a rock star. He also fought against some parts of his upbringing. For example, when he went to India, he ate meat from street sellers even though strict Zoroastrian rules said he had to be a vegetarian. He told no one about it. That secret revolt made things hard at home and taught him early on how to hide his true identity. And it made him feel free in a way that never went away. In January 1964, everything changed. There was a Zanzibar revolution. And hurt many people on the island. About 17,000 people, mostly Arabs and Indians, were killed. As a small group, the Bulsaras ran away in the middle of the night. They took a British ship with just their bags on board. Farrick, who was 17, saw the world he knew fall apart behind him. After many years, he wrote songs like Killer Queen about that sudden loss. Where vivid images hit a more important memory of chaos and fear. That escape changed him a lot. It made him want to go to England and start a new life. They made Feltham, Middlesex, their home. He changed his name to Freddie to fit in. He had done a lot of different jobs by the late 1960s. One of them was handling bags at Heathrow for just £2.50 a week. Feelings against Asians were getting worse. After 1968's Rivers of Blood speech by Enoch Powell. He often hid his past from his peers because of this. Still, he made music in private, writing tunes at night under his pillow. His mother later said that he never stopped writing, even when things were hard. He turned to art to get ahead. In September 1964, he started studying art and design at Isleworth Polytechnic. His paintings were bold, and they were based on scenes from Zanzibar. Some pieces got small prizes and were talked about in the area. But he had a lot of problems with his teachers, especially when he drew naked pictures of himself that made it look like he might be bisexual. At the time, it was frowned upon and caused trouble. Friends said that he looked different over the years. He started dressing in trendy clothes and slowly got over how weird he used to be. Eventually, he quit because he was angry and wanted to pursue music full-time more and more. After making friends through table tennis, he went to Isleworth Polytechnic and met several other artists. He started a band called Wreckage in 1967. In bars, they played dirty blues, and people were shocked by Freddie's screams. He had been angry and traumatized since the change, and those screams let out all of that. The band didn't last very long. By late 1969, most of the members had left, but Freddie learned how exciting performance could be. Even though it was a small lesson, it helped Queen get off the ground. There was then his first scandal with a girl in 1968. If Freddie was seeing Rosemary Pearson, he would kiss a male student in the art room one day. The story spread in just a few hours. He was always being judged and whispered about. He changed schools to get away from the attention. In a later song called Lazing on a Sunday Afternoon, he hints at this secret chapter. The happy words hid the truth about his life. For the rest of his life, that moment changed how he dealt with his identity, privacy, and performance. In 1969, Freddie Mercury joined a small band called Ibex and played on his first big stage. After that, they tried the name Wreckage. He played in pubs all over Yorkshire and Liverpool. People were drawn to him even in the smoky rooms. On August 23, 1969, at the Octagon Theatre in Bolton, he did his first show with Ibex. He played songs by the Beatles and Jimi Hendrix. In the middle of everything, he would effortlessly change into gold lame pants, as if nothing was wrong. People were shocked, but they couldn't take their eyes off of it. He moved with a joy that didn't come from fear. By October 31, 1969, at Ealing College, he had already taken the microphone stand apart and used it as a partner. Wreckage didn't make a studio release. But recordings of that live show that his voice was getting stronger quickly. Some of his early songs, like Green and Cancer on My Mind, showed what he could become. In 1970, when chaos broke down, Freddie moved to London. He didn't have much, but his dream was like a fire inside him. He lived in squats near West Kensington with other young artists who were also trying to make ends meet. Making signs gave him only £5 a week to live on. He was able to get these small jobs thanks to his graphic arts degree from Ealing Art College. The squats were cold and messy, but they were also full of ideas. He wrote a soft song called Lover during this time. It was about how he felt about a straight drummer. It turned into a private statement that was recorded as a short acoustic demo. Being so honest back then was dangerous. The song was kept secret for many years. He learned how to put his heart into sound even back then. He tried to join a band called Sour Milk Sea in the early 1970s. Everybody in the room turned to look at him when he sang. Still, they said he was too much for their folk style, too dramatic, too musical, and too flashy. Being turned down hurt a lot. It made him want to change how he looked. In 1971, when racism was on the rise in the country, he dyed his hair black and grew a beard to hide the features that made him stand out. Anyway, Sour Milk Sea didn't last long. A few weeks later, it fell apart. This taught Freddie how fragile bands could be and how to be careful around people. In 1971, he tried a different band called Grand Hotel, but this time things fell apart very badly. When the band found love letters, they found out that Freddie had been seeing the bassist. The shock spread through the group. They fired him right away. Freddie fell into a dark place after his heart broke. Later, his friends said he took sleeping pills and almost overdosed, which was very scary. At the time, no one knew about it. He was scared, though. He felt that pain like a heavy shadow for a while. He kept moving, though, slowly turning his pain into fuel. He was ready to become a different person by the end of 1971. It was possible for him to change his name from Farrokh Bulsara to Freddie Mercury. It felt like the name was lighter and brighter. His goals were met by it. He also used the zodiac signs of all four members when he created around this time. There are 2 lions for Deacon and Taylor. 2 fairies for himself as a Virgo and a crab for May. The mark became a small sign that he could trust. Like a shield, it followed him around everywhere as he became more brave. The moment that changed everything then came. With Brian May and Roger Taylor, he formed the band in April 1970. After Tim Staffel, their singer, quit the band Smile. When Freddie got there, he was full of ideas. His choice of the name Queen for the band made him feel brave and alive. Brian May was hesitant at first because he thought the name was too risky, but Freddie kept pushing. Soon, even Brian could feel how nice it was. They played their first show at a Cornwall Red Cross benefit on June 27, 1970. That night, something clicked. It was in their bones, all 3 of them. It was the start of a new era. By the end of 1970, they were practicing with bassist Mike Gross in a small flat in Liverpool. Everyone was surprised when Freddie asked for layered harmonies like in the Beatles. He thought big, even though the room was small. By 1971, he wouldn't let them leave without John Deacon. John thought like an engineer. And Freddie thought that being precise would make their sound better. As soon as John came, the classic lineup was full. Their practices got tougher and more focused as time went on. Freddie pushed hard, and that pressure helped the band become what it is today. On July 13, 1973, Queen's first album came out. It only cost £5,000 to make, and Freddie saved up half of that amount to pay for it. The record didn't do well right away, even after all that work. Then 7 Seas of Rye came on BBC Radio 1, and all of a sudden, people paid attention. Freddie had a heated argument with the director over who should be in charge of the music. He wished Queen would sound different from other bands. People told stories about that fight, which showed how far he was ready to go to protect the band's spirit. Freddie became known for what he did behind the scenes during the 1973 UK shows. Before every show, he asked for 24 roses and a robe. Some people in the business thought it was too much, but it made him feel ready. During Liar, he smashed pianos on stage, which shocked the crowds and made Queen's wild image even stronger. People started going to see Freddie not only for the music but also because he was unpredictable. Still, becoming more famous came with a price. In late 1973, after a show in Liverpool, Freddie passed out from being so tired. He had serious vocal cord strain, and doctors told him about polyps. He took a nap in secret. He thought for a moment that his voice might give out, but he didn't stop, even though he should have. Queen's progress moved forward. Even more so when Killer Queen made it to the US Top 20 and showed they were special. Fancy took another artistic step right before that hit came out. For £500, he hired a harpist to help him shape Killer Queen's sound. The harp was out of place in a rock song, but it worked perfectly with the theater feel he was going for. In fact, he put on makeup like in vaudeville for the cover of the record. Again going against Brian May's rougher style. It was tense, but what happened was memorable. Then there was an incident in 1974 when a German model shared private photos from a short relationship. The story was all over the news. In public, Freddie denied everything, but behind closed doors, he paid £10,000 to get rid of it. The band became tense and wondered how much chaos they could handle. But Freddie didn't give up and kept his mind on performance. He had even bigger dreams when he was in the studio. He became crazy about a picture by Richard Dodd called the Fairy Feller's Masterstroke for Queen the Saku. It made him want to make one of Queen's most complex songs ever. Engineers were told to add more than 160 extra tracks by him. At one point, the company almost shut down because the work was so hard and cost so much. Freddie didn't stop. He made a strange and beautiful world inside one song with keyboard, piano, and layers of voice. At about the same time, he turned his childhood nightmares into an ogre fight. That song's screams came from a fear he had had since he was a child. He even tried to breathe fire on stage during practice, which burned Brian May's hair. The band freaked out. It was hard to play the song because it was so loud, heavy, and living. Queen didn't play it live very often for a long time. In 1974, while on the Sheer Heart Attack tour, his health got worse again. He passed out in New York from viral fever and kidney stones. The band had to shorten their trip to the US. Doctors told him again not to do it, but Freddie kept going whenever he could. He was even singing in his hotel room. Even though it was hard, the record had already broken Queen around the world. Killer Queen's popularity showed that they were becoming known in places other than the UK. On August 24, 1975, Queen walked into Rockfield Studio in Wales with a crazy idea that seemed bigger than the place they were in. They only had a 24-track tape machine, but they wanted a sound that went much further than that. They kept pushing until the machine almost gave up. Their only sound was their own voices as they worked on Bohemian Rhapsody for almost 3 weeks, singing for 12 hours a day. The harmony parts of Freddie Mercury, Brian May, and Roger Taylor kept being added until the tapes got so thin from bouncing that director Roy Thomas Baker said he could almost see light through them. He didn't want to use machines because he wanted everything to sound natural. Pieces of tape had to be cut and put back together by hand just to keep everything together. It seemed impossible to finish, but the song got better and better until it was one of the most complicated rock tracks ever. But the song was more than just skill. Something personal was hidden in the opera area. Although Freddie Mercury was born Farid Bulsara in Zanzibar, he spent most of his childhood in India, where he heard Zoroastrian prayers, Gujarati words, and Indian classical music. He added some of those sounds from his childhood to the tune when he was making that opera scene. It was never picked up by Western ears, but the impact was there. After hearing the demo, the people at EMI looked at him like he had brought them a problem they couldn't figure out. They thought it was too long and weird. He slammed the demo down on the table and told them he'd buy it himself if they made him. Soon after, the song went to #1 in the UK and stayed there for 9 weeks. It went on to become one of the best-selling records of all time. Freddie walked out in a white tank top, sat down at the piano, and then threw himself into the rock part with a burst of head banging that made the crowd go crazy. Queen played it live at the Hammersmith Odeon Christmas show in 1975. He got whiplash every night from all the moving around. He still went backstage and put ice on his neck. The next night, he came back with the same fire. The show was recorded and then used in Queen Rock, Montreal. That mix of ease and raw power that made him so memorable. After that was the song video. Bruce Gowers shot it in November 1975 for only £4,000. It took him 4 hours to finish. At a time when the media wasn't ready for images, the sexy shadows, the leather cap, and the famous "four on the floor" pose all caused questions. That felt truly odd. BBC wasn't sure if they should put it on top of the hits. Some people said that the band encouraged homosexuality. In public, Freddie didn't pay much attention to it, but when he was alone, he liked the noise. After the video came out, Gowers said it changed everything about how music could be marketed. It made Queen look brave, even though she was in the middle of a scandal. Something bad happened right after the song became popular. Someone stole voice stems from Queen recordings after Freddie had just spent £25,000 on a custom Steinway piano. The thief said he would stay quiet for £5,000. Freddie paid for it. There were to be no scandals or leaks. Those stems could have shown unfinished songs or secret sessions that the band didn't want to be made public. For years, the story was hidden. Only people close to the band could hear. He did a lot of different things outside of music. Freddie had a party in Munich with more than 700 people after a day at the races. The stories about that night don't seem real. A dwarf walked around with a silver tray full of drugs. Police searched the area and found signs of drug use. Just before they came in, Freddie got out through a back door. Crystal bottles were all over the place, the windows were covered, and people were dressed in drag or in clothes that were barely clothing. It was crazy, risky, and exciting. He was able to be himself in Munich because he wasn't being watched from London. At this point, his relationship with Mary Austin had hit its end. During dinner in Kensington in 1976, he told her he was gay and straight. They talked, and after that she moved out. Freddie used money from his publishing business to buy her a new apartment. After that, he gave her Garden Lodge, which was his favorite house. He always said Mary was his only real friend, even though his friends were shocked. She stayed close even after they broke up. She became the calm center of his life while he explored a world that kept pulling him toward new wants and ideas about who he was. His wild nights changed more than just his personal life. They gave rise to songs. While making the jazz record in 1978, he wrote "Don't Stop Me Now." It came from New York club nights that went on until dawn. It was full of strangers and loves, and he met them right away. Brian May later said that he wished Freddie could be free. The lines that said, "going supersonic and having a ball," were not figurative language. Written in a notebook and hidden behind a fast piano. Freddie knew more than most that the song had become a symbol of happiness and joy. But happiness did not keep him safe from trouble. He put out "Love Kills" in 1980 to hide a money mess he was hiding. He put £100,000 into a hotel in Zanzibar and lost it all. To make things right, he sold some of his art without telling the band. The outside world thought everything was fine, but behind the scenes, his money was in bad shape. The shocks kept happening. One of the fans in Milwaukee during Queen's 1981 Hot Space tour called him a slur. He snapped, took his pants down, and mooned the crowd. The news outlets ran with it. Bands had a fight about it. The band was shocked. After that, Freddie secretly began going to therapy. Not get too angry. That night, living with a secret name had pushed him too far. He turned to something he could control by 1983. He made his first record, Mr. Bad Guy, in Munich for almost 2 years. All 11 songs were his. He sang every note. He put together every arrangement. He worked with Reinhold Mack and hired great session players, but he didn't include Queen. Fans who are used to rock guitars were shocked by the synth-heavy sound. Even though some reviewers thought it was silly, the album showed how far he could go to break free of expectations. Then there was Live Aid on July 13, 1985. a 20-minute set by Queen was seen by 1.9 billion people. It looked like a victory. It was a victory. But behind the scenes, Freddie was having a hard time with his voice. To keep his voice steady, he gave himself drugs. They also covered up early signs of AIDS, like bruises and infections that no one could explain. He kept everything from the band and the fans. Live Aid was the time when the brightest light shone over the first shadow of his sickness. He met Montserrat Cabal after 2 years. And made Barcelona. He worked out for months to get as good as her. He showed up for the recording day still buzzed from a night out. Cabal saw him switch to a falsetto voice, make up songs on the spot, and laugh through his mistakes. They drank champagne and made a song that was a strange mix of opera and rock. Their strange partnership turned out to be one of the most surprising high points of his late career. In the spring of 1987, Freddie got the worst news of his life: he had HIV. He didn't tell anyone. Kaposi sarcoma spots showed up on his feet by 1989. During the Magic Tour, he hid them with handmade boots. His strength went down. Some friends saw but didn't get it. Rather than telling them the truth, he made jokes about rock stars getting sick to keep them quiet. He kept going even though it hurt every step. People who found out the truth later were shocked by that bravery. In order to record the miracle, he sometimes had to work from a wheelchair. He was in more pain, but he wouldn't stop. In the new words he wrote for Breakthrough Overnight, he added subtle hints of fear and death. The band didn't see everything. They only saw how funny he was. Drive and determination. He once said he would walk on stage even if he was 200 pounds. He really meant it. He died at Garden Lodge on November 24, 1991, from respiratory pneumonia caused by AIDS. He was 45 years old. He sent out a letter the day before telling everyone about his diagnosis. He did it to keep his secrets safe and keep the attention on his music. His partner, Jim Hutton, and Mary Austin stayed with him. Mary spread his ashes in a place that only she knew about after he was cremated. It was the last thing he asked. The whole world was sad. Then there was the tribute show at Wembley in 1992, which raised £20 million for AIDS charities. But the moment was ruined when Freddie Mercury's old manager, Paul Prenter, sold secret tapes from Mercury's parties. Fans were shocked by what they saw on the tapes, and they were very hurt for the band. But the scandal went away, and Freddie's fame grew again through his music, the show, and the growing fight against AIDS. His will showed us one more surprise. Freddie gave Mary Austin 75% of his £50 million estate when he died. Mary's share grew to £187.5 million by 2024, when Queen sold their LPs to Sony for more than £1 billion. It made her one of the richest ex-partners in the history of music. He gave the rest to his family and close friends. Then, in 2025, there was another surprise. An article said that Freddie had a daughter in 1976. She was only known as B. She was 48 years old, lived in Europe, and worked in medicine. Books, notes, and her own account helped her tell her story. Because of privacy terms in his will, she did not get any of his money. The news caused a lot of discussion, but it also showed that the man behind the legend was more difficult than people thought. Over $18 million has been given by the Mercury Phoenix Trust to AIDS causes in 57 countries since 1992. The house where Freddie spent his last years, Garden Lodge, was sold for £30 million in 2024. There was an end to a chapter with the sale, but his confidence, music, and memories kept going through the years.